As we had completed the deductions, now let us get into something called as disallowances. Before getting into disallowances, let us quickly understand how section 30 to 37, that means when you start the problem, when we start with the problems, how I need to interpret section 30 to 37. Let us make that clear, then let us proceed further so that that becomes very easy for you when we start working with the problems. Now, let me put it here. Say, let me first draw a profit and loss account for you, then we can easily understand. So, let us imagine this is something your profit, okay, and loss account. So let us imagine this is going to be something called as our profit and loss account. Okay, that means if I drop the profit and loss account here, so let me start with gross profit. So by gross profit, let us consider your gross profit was 15 lakhs. So you are having a gross profit of what? 15. Now apart from this, what will be having? So let us consider on this side you are having something called as depreciation. You are having something called as rent of building. Okay, let us consider depreciation being 2 lakhs. Let us consider rent of building being, let us consider as 1,50,000 per annum. Then let us consider you are also having something called as what, salaries to the staff, salaries to your staff. So let us consider salaries to the staff is going to be 1,50,000 is nothing but the salaries paid to the staff. Apart from all this, you are also having something called as two bonus. You are also having something called as two bad debt. Bonus is there, bad debt is there. You are also having two interest on loan borrowed is also there. Let us consider bonus 50,000, bad debt 30,000, interest on loan. Let us consider to be 1 lakh. So that's what is nothing but your debit side. Now coming to the credit side, you may be having what, income from house property. Along with your this, you are also having income from house property. Let us consider income from house property is going to be 2 lakhs, and by profit on sale of asset, profit on sale of asset. Let us consider you have a profit of 3 lakhs on sale of the asset. That's what is nothing but your structure of your profit and loss account. Now if I do the total of my credit side of my P&L account, what is my total? The total is simply 20 lakhs on the credit side. Then let me see what is the net profit which I have. Okay, the net profit which I have here is what? Let me do the total of my expenses. 2 lakhs plus 1 lakh 50 plus 1 lakh 50, 3 lakhs plus 50,000 plus 30,000 plus 1 lakh. So your total of expense is 6 lakhs 80. So 6 lakhs to 20 lakhs minus 6 lakhs 80. The profit is going to be 13 lakhs. 13 lakhs 20,000 is going to be something called as well net profit. So you are having something to net profit 13 lakh. Now if we try to interpret in accordance, this is what profit and loss account, this is prepared in accordance with your accounting concepts, accounting standards and accounting policies. Now section 32, okay, of Income Tax Act allows you to take depreciation. Section 30 of the Income Tax Act allows you to take depreciation. Salaries, section 37 of the Income Tax Act allows you to take that as depreciation. 36 subsection 1 allows you to take bonus as your depreciation. 36 subsection 1 clause 7 allows you to take bad debt as your deduction. 36 subsection 1 clause 3 allows you to take interest on loan as deduction. So ultimately all these things are allowed as deduction. That's the reason I can reduce it. Say, let me change this example now. Let me slightly change the example here and let me consider few more aspects. Then we can understand the difference. Now, whenever the profit and loss account is given, I should understand whether those things which are debited can be taken as deduction or not. Okay. Now let me put one more thing here. To loss on sale of asset. To loss on sale of asset, let me consider that to be 1,20,000. So if I consider this to be 1,20,000, then what will become my net profit will become 12 lakhs. So you are having a net profit now of 12 lakhs. This is nothing but your accounting net profit. Now, whenever you try to calculate the problem on profits and gains from use of provision, the first and foremost thing, whatever debited, whatever expenses debited, you should understand whether those expenses can be taken as deduction or not. Clear? Whenever you had observed the profit and loss account, there you need to see whether the same thing can be taken as deduction as per Income Tax Act. Income Tax Act allows you to take depreciation. And what method? On WDV. So if the problem gives you the information of your opening WDV and acquisition or whatever it is. So if the problem is giving you your closing WDV, let me consider the problem says you are having a closing WDV as on 31st March. Let us consider your WDV is 15 lakhs. Okay. Your WDV is what? Let me consider as an example. Your WDV is going to be 15 lakhs on the date of your balance sheet. So ultimately, the value of the asset on the date of balance sheet is what? The value of the asset on the date of balance sheet is going to be 15 lakhs. Now what you need to do? Provide depreciation. Say, let me consider that asset is a building. So if I take an example that asset is a building, then ultimately what is my depreciation? 10% is my depreciation. I'm just taking an example. If you consider this example as your plant and machinery, your depreciation will be 15%. Then what? 1,15,000 into 15%. Then your depreciation will be something else. Okay. So here your value is what? 15 lakhs. On that, if you take 15% depreciation, you are getting 2,25,000 will be your depreciation. So your depreciation is going to be 2,25,000. Or let me change that. Let me change the value of the asset here. So let me consider as an example, the value of asset is 7 lakhs. Now if the value of asset is 7 lakhs and the asset is a plant, if rate of depreciation is what? 15%. So 7 lakhs into 15%, you can take a depreciation of what? 1,05,000. So if this is your WDV, you can take a depreciation of 1,05,000. But how much was debited? You had debited 2 lakhs. You can't take 2 lakhs as deduction. Even though section 32 says take depreciation. What section 32 says? Section 32 says depreciation has to be taken on WDV. Compute the WDV, compute depreciation. So ultimately my amount of eligible depreciation is not 2, my amount of eligible depreciation is 1,05,000. So what I have to do? Difference, find out the difference. 2 lakhs minus 1,05,000, difference is 95. So as you have taken excess 95, add back disallow. So what is the meaning of disallow? Disallow is nothing but adding to the net profit is something called as what? Disallowance. What is the meaning of deduction? Reducing that from your net profit is called as deduction. Adding back to the net profit is called as disallowance. So deduction is allowed to the extent of 1,05,000. 2 lakhs minus 1,05,000, the excess is what? 95,000. So I need to disallow this 95,000. Or instead of doing that complication, what you can do? Add disallow entire 2 lakhs. Then what is the meaning? If I add 2 lakhs to my net profit, it is the meaning is what? I have not taken any depreciation. So simply add 2 lakhs, then whatever amount of expenses Income Tax Act says, you take that. So I am adding 2 lakhs to my net profit, then I am trying to take the reduction under section 32, 1,05,000. Treatment is same. Add 2 lakhs, reduce, disallow 2 lakhs, allow 1,05,000. Or as already had allowed 2 lakhs, disallow 95,000. So whatever treatment that remains the same. Clear? That's what is something called as allowance of your deduction. Now, if you observe, rent for the building, section 30, you can take that as deduction. Salary is paid, you can take that as deduction under 37. So now here, all these things, bonus, bad debt, interest is allowed as deduction under 36. But if you observe, loss on sale of asset, what I have to do? as it is not allowed under 30 to 37, disallowed. That means whatever expenses, the first part in disallowances, the first part in disallowances is what? Any sort of expenses not allowed as deduction under 30 to 37, if debited to the profit and loss account, disallow. Clear? So as loss on sale of asset is not covered under 30 to 37, as that is debited to the profit and loss account, simply I need to add that to my net profit. That's what is the first and foremost thing which we need to understand as a part of your disallowances. Now, let me step into something called as disallowances. Let us try to understand that. Okay, now disallowance, as we have considered, disallowance means what? Disallowance is nothing but any sort of expense. So disallowance is generally what? Any sort of expense, any expense debited. Okay, any expense debited to debited in profit and loss account. Any expenses debited in profit and loss account. So the expense is debited in profit and loss account. Okay, any expenses which is debited in profit and loss account which is not allowed as deduction. Expenses debited in the profit and loss account which is not allowed as deduction. Expenses debited in profit and loss account which is not allowed as deduction. Any sort of expenses debited in profit and loss account which is not allowed as deduction, under section 30 to 37. If any of this sort of expenses is debited, then what I have to do? Add back to the net profit. So what is, in short, what is the meaning of disallowances? Adding to net profit. So if I add that to net profit, I will call that as a disallowances. What I will add to my net profit? First of all, any sort of expenses debited in the profit and loss account which is not allowed as deduction under 30 to 37, I need to add. I need to disallow. So I need to add such type of expenses to what? To net profit. That's what is the first one. Apart from that, there are few sections which are focusing on something called as what? Disallowances. Now, what is that? Let us try to understand. So here there is something called as 37 subsection 1. Now let us try to understand something called as 37 subsection 1. So the next section of disallowance is what? Section 37 subsection 1. What is this? The Act clearly says that whenever any SSC incurs any sort of expenses for your corporate social responsibility. So it says any expenses incurred for CSR activity. As per Companies Act, you are supposed to do something called as corporate responsibility activities. If you had incurred any sort of expenses and such expenses is debited to the profit and loss account, any expenses incurred for CSR activity, if debited, where? Debited to profit and loss account. Any sort of expenses incurred for CSR activity, if debited to the profit and loss account, if profit and loss account is debited, then what I have to do? Disallow. Any sort of expense incurred for CSR activity, if debited to the profit and loss account, simply what I will do? I will disallow such expenses. That's what the first one. Clear? Means what? If that expenses is incurred not debited to the profit and loss account, ignore. Why I have to consider them? If it is debited to the profit and loss account, your profit is reduced. If that is not debited to your profit and loss account, ultimately you have not taken that as deduction, so I need not do anything. So here, if debited to the profit and loss account, disallow. That's what is the first section which we need to consider. Then let us move on to something called as 37 subsection 2b. Okay, section 37 subsection 2b. Let us see what is this. Section 37 2B says about whenever you incur any sort of expenses, any expenses incurred, you are incurring some expenses for what? You are incurring some expenses by way of advertisement. You are incurring some advertisement expenses. Okay, in anything, in any souvenir, brochure, pamphlet, etc., whatever it is, expenses incurred by way of advertisement. For whom? For the benefit of a political party. Any sort of expense incurred by way of advertisement for a political party. So whenever you incur any sort of expenses for the benefit of a political party, that may be advertisement expenses or that may be donation to political party, whatever it is, that is not to be allowed as deduction, disallowed. So any expenses by way of political party donation debited to P&L account. If it is debited to the profit and loss account, then what I have to do? Disallow. What is the meaning of disallow? The meaning of disallow is nothing but add to net profit. So I need to add to net profit. So I need to add to net profit. Okay, that's what is the transaction, that what is the treatment which you are supposed to do for 37 subsection 2. Now, let us go to something called as specific disallowances or special disallowances. You can call this as a specific disallowances or you may call this as a special disallowances. Let us try to see them. Now, okay, I will try to explain them separately. Here, let us see. So, what is that here? Specific disallowances, or you can also call that as special disallowances. So, let us use the word specific disallowances. So at this level, we are trying to cover two sections which are forming part of your specific disallowances, which is nothing but your section 40, and there is something called as section 40A. So these are the two sections which are covering about something called as the specific disallowances. Now let us try to see what are those deductions which are supposed to be considered. Okay. Now 40 is very simple, that already we have discussed. Any expenses which are not covered under 32, 37 or disallowed. So here the first point we had already considered. What is the first point there? Expenses not covered under section 32, 37 are supposed to be disallowed. That's what is the first point. Second, there are specific expenses which are disallowed. In that we need to understand one by one. So now let us get into something called as section 40A. Okay, in that we are having several subsections. Section 40A subsection 1. Let us try to see what is this. It's very simple. So what this says that you are making payment outside India. You are making a payment outside India. And what is that payment? That payment could be interest, that payment could be royalty, that payment could be technical fees. Okay, so that amount is paid to a person outside India, or amount is paid in India to a non-resident. So ultimately 40A is telling one thing. What it says that whenever, okay, whenever any expenses, what is that expenses? Any expenses such as, whenever any expenses such as, what is that? Such as interest. When you will pay interest, you have taken a loan, for that you are paying some sort of interest, or you are paying some royalty, any sort of royalty paid, or any sort of fees for technical services. You are paying some fees for technical services. That also I have to consider. Okay, or any sum or any amount chargeable to tax in the hands of the recipient. Okay, or any amount taxable. That's what is the first thing. So when this is going to apply, whenever the payment you are doing is something interest, is something royalty, is something technical fee, is something any amount which is taxable, then we need to see two things: expenses and the person. So here, who is our recipient? We know the expenses, so you are making payment of this expenses. This is the list of expenses you are making payment. Now the second most important thing I need to know is nothing but the recipient. Is nothing but the recipient. Now we need to understand who is the recipient. That means this expenses is paid to whom. 40A is applicable if this payment is made to a person. Who is that person? That person may be based outside India. Any person who is means what? The person, the payment is made outside India, not the recipient. Here, what the act says, the payment is made. So the payment, the place of making the payment is what? Outside India. So let me put it more precisely. Payment made outside India. Whenever the payment is made outside India, that's what is the first category. Payment made outside India. Okay, that's what is the first case. Or the payment can be made outside India, or the payment is made in India. Payment made outside India, or payment is done in India. Okay, payment is made outside India, or the payment is done in India. To whom? In India, to whom you are making payment? You are making payment to a person called as non-resident. Then 40A is applicable. Again, whenever any amount such as interest, royalty, technical fees, or any other amount which is taxable is paid outside India or is paid in India to a non-resident, then 40A is applicable. So what 40A says? 40A says that this expenses should be paid only after reduction of TDS. If such expenses is paid without deduction of TDS, no deduction is going to be allowed, whatever amount it is. Now you go back to section 30 to 37. Say suppose you have taken some non-resident service for getting some sort of repairs of a plant and machinery. Any sort of repairs which is a current repairs is allowed as reduction in section 31. But if the repairs is paid to a non-resident, the repair amount is paid to a non-resident, ultimately what I will call fees for a technical service. So as it is a fees for technical service and the amount is paid to a non-resident, whether you are paying that amount outside India or within India, as the amount is paid to a non-resident, compulsory what should happen? Tax has to be deducted. So if tax is not deducted, the expenses is going to be disallowed. Clear? So whenever any expenses is paid to a recipient, and okay, let me change this slightly so that you can easily understand with which much more clarity. Okay, you are paying these expenses. Now I need to see where you are paying, place of making payment of this expense. Let me add one more thing. Okay, place. We know the expenses and we should understand the place. What is the place? The place is nothing but either expense is paid within India or expense is paid outside India. That's what is something called as the place. Then I need to see the next one. Recipient. Now I need to see who is the recipient. Now if I try to understand the recipient, let us see. To whom I am paying? The recipient in this case is nothing but a non-resident. You are making payment to a non-resident either within India. You are making payment to a non-resident either outside India. What payment you are doing? Expenses. Whenever the expense is paid to a non-resident, ultimately what you are supposed to do? Such expenses has to be paid. Expense is to be paid after TDS. Expenses is to be paid after TDS. Now, what this section says. The section says that if TDS is not deducted, TDS is not deducted, disallow. So I will simply disallow. Even such expenses is covered under 3237 as you are paying to a non-resident without deduction of TDS, simply disallow. Now, to put it in a precise manner, in a simplified manner, let me write this section like this. Okay, let me write this section in the following way. Let us see. Okay, what you are doing? You are making payment. You are making payment without TDS. You are making payment without TDS. To whom? To a non-resident. Where either the non-resident is in India or the non-resident is outside India. But as you are doing the payment, what payment you are doing? You are making either payment of interest, you are either making payment of royalty, either you are making payment of technical fees or whatever it is. As you are doing without payment of deduction of TDS, the act says simply disallow. So I am going to disallow that expenses. I am not going to take that expense as deduction. That what is 40A is speaking about. Clear? Now, in continuation with 40A, we need to understand few more things. Let us try to understand few more things of 40A. Okay. Now, in this case, whoever is supposed to be deducted, whoever is supposed to deduct the TDS, if he fails to deduct, that person is someone called as SSC in default. He'll be called as what? SSC in default. Now, so here the payer is making payment to whom? The payer is making payment to non-resident. He is supposed to deduct the TDS. If he is not deducting the TDS, he will be called as an SSC in default. Then what? As he is called as an SSC in default, the act says you can't take this as deduction. The amount of deduction is going to be disallowed. Now, even that SSC is someone called as SSC in default. Until and unless your default is rectified. When the default is rectified, to rectify your default, either you should be what? Deducting the tax, or the recipient has paid the tax on that income. So if the recipient has paid the tax on that income, ultimately I will call the defect is rectified. So if the defect is rectified, even though you have not deducted the TDS, you can take the tax deduction. Going forward, we'll try to see few examples in that you can easily understand. So here my objective is what? If you are supposed to deduct the TDS, not deducted, you are called as default. Deducted, not paid to government, default. You can't take the deduction. But once the defect is rectified, once the default is corrected, you can take that as deduction. So how you can correct the default? You have not deducted the TDS, but the non-resident recipient has filed the income tax return. The non-resident recipient has considered this as an income. The non-resident recipient has paid tax on this. Then ultimately, if you obtain a certificate from a chartered accountant stating that the amount of tax is paid, even though you are called as a default, then you can take that amount as deduction. We'll see few examples going forward. There you can easily understand the thing. So that's what is something called as 40A. Of course, later point of time we will discuss in detail about something called as SSC in default. Now let us move on to the next part of the section, is nothing but your 40A subsection 1A. Okay, so we'll discuss that. Okay, so before getting into 40A subsection 1A, let us try to first cover one example problem. Okay, example illustration of an explanation for 40A subsection 1. Now let us try to see the example here. Okay, example. So let us consider A Limited pay a sum of rupees 10 lakhs. A Limited pays a sum of rupees 10 lakhs to whom? As commission. Okay, as a commission to Y Inc. Okay, Y Inc. a US company. So Y Inc. is basically an US company. When it has paid on, the payment date is on 15th October 2019. The date of payment is. Now, basically, how the payment has been made? The payment has been made without TDS, without deduction of tax. The payment has been made. Okay, without deduction of the tax, the payment has been made. Now, what the Y Incorporation has done? Y Incorporation paid advance tax. Y Incorporation paid advance tax. Y Incorporation paid advance tax on the due date. So whatever date you need to pay advance tax, that we'll discuss when we are going to section 210. There we'll discuss all this. So Y Incorporation paid advance tax, including the commission. Including the commission, the Y Incorporation has paid the. Okay, so advance tax is paid including the commission income. So now, Y Incorporation Limited paid the advance tax including the amount of commission. So here, entire tax liability of Y Inc. is paid. So entire tax liability of Y Inc. for the financial year, entire tax liability for the financial year 1920 was paid. So there is no tax due, entire income was paid. And not only this, return of income of Y Inc. is also filed. Return of income of Y Limited is also filed. Okay, now when is filed on September 2020. On September 20th, 2020, the return has been filed. Now, he is also obtaining what? Excel A Limited obtained what? A Limited obtained certificate from chartered accountant. Okay, discuss the tax consequences in the hands of A Limited. So what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to discuss tax consequences in hands of A Limited. So you are supposed to discuss the tax consequences in the hands of A Limited. Now, for this, we need to understand. Let us quickly summarize 40A subsection 1. If you go back, only 3 points I need to see. Payment made without TDS. To whom the payment is made? To a non-resident. Where the payment is made? Either in India or outside India. If you see here, A Limited is making payment of 10 lakhs to an US company. So, non-resident, irrespective of the place of payment. If this payment is made without TDS, what the act says? Disallow. I will simply disallow that expense. So, this entire 10 lakhs as paid without reduction of TDS has to be disallowed. But if you fail to deduct the TDS, if you fail to pay the amount of days which is deducted, you are said to be called as an SSC in default. As you are said to be called as an SSC in default, the amount of expenses cannot be taken as deduction. The amount of expense can be taken as deduction only when the default is rectified. So what is the meaning of rectification of default? One point we have discussed. The recipient, who is the recipient? Y Incorporation or Y Limited. What the Y Limited should do? Should pay the tax. Y Limited should file the income tax return. And the payer, who is the payer? A Limited. A Limited should obtain a certificate from a chartered accountant. If all these things are done, I can call the default is rectified. Then you can take that amount as deduction. So in this case, if you observe, everything is happening. Y Limited pay the entire tax liability. Y Limited has filed the income tax return. A Limited has obtained a certificate from a chartered accountant. So all these things are done. But when the return of income is filed, the return of income is filed in 2020. So that means what? Return of income. So simply speaking, I can call default is rectified in financial year 2021. Defect is rectified, default is rectified in financial year 2021. So as the default is rectified in 2021, deduction is allowed in the previous year 2021, or I can call assessment year 21-22. So it can be taken as deduction in the assessment year 21-22, but not in previous year 1920. So it cannot take that as deduction 1920. Why? Because the default was rectified in September 20th, 2020. So you can take it as deduction only after default is rectified. So that's what is summary. So now what you should do? You should explain clearly. SSC in default. Whenever any SSC is supposed to pay the TDS not deducted and failed to deduct, he is called as an SSC in default. Then what you should mention? You should clearly mention that whenever any recipient has filed a return, the recipient has paid the taxes, the payer has obtained a certificate, the default is said to be rectified. So then deduction can be taken in that financial year. So the financial year is nothing but 2021. The financial year is 2021. So you can take that as deduction in 2021, but not in the previous year 1920. That's what is an interpretation for your section 40A subsection 1. Now let us quickly move on to the other section 40A subsection 1A, which is also very simple. So let us quickly close this. Now section 41A. 41A. What is this? See, earlier the other section 40A subsection 1 is speaking about, so this 40A subsection 1A. So that was speaking about something called as payment to a non-resident. Now this is speaking about something called as payment to a resident. Now let us see quickly what is this. Okay. Now here what you are doing, even in this case you are making payment. There also you are making payment. Here what it says, any sort of payment which are subject to TDS. Any sort of payments which are subject to TDS, to whom these payments are made? These payments are made to a person who is called as resident. There in the other section, to whom you are making payment? To a non-resident. Any payment made to a resident without deduction of tax, that payment is subject to TDS. Say rent, you are making payment of rent as per 194I. Of course we'll discuss that. 194I, the rent is subject to TDS. If you deduct the TDS without payment, if you deduct the TDS without, if you pay the rent without deduction of TDS, ultimately 40A subsection 1 is applicable if the rent is paid to a resident. Okay. Any payment which are covered under the provisions of TDS is paid to a resident without deduction of TDS, then 40A 1A is applicable. Okay. Almost similar. 40A subsection 1 also says what? Any sort of payment made to a non-resident without deduction of TDS is subject to disallowance. Same thing applies. The amount, any payment which are covered as a part of your TDS paid to a non-resident without TDS will be disallowed. Now, the difference is what between both the sections? That section the recipient is a non-resident. This section the recipient is a resident. And other difference is what? Here, the Act says whenever any payment is made without deduction of tax to a resident, even this says disallow. But that section says 100% disallow. This section says that 30% of such expenses is disallowed. There what you are doing, 100% you are disallowing. In this case you are disallowing 30%. So 40A subsection 1A says when you can take this 30% as reduction. It says same as that, whenever the defect or whenever the default gets rectified. So what you are doing in the year of payment, see, let me put it, two things are there. So whenever such payment are made, let me take an example. Say, let me take an example here and let us discuss that. Okay. Right. Okay. So now let me continue here. Say suppose here what happened, you had, let me take an example. Okay. You had made a payment, rent is paid, rent paid to resident. So ultimately, any payment subject to TDS paid to a resident, what we have discussed, 40A subsection 1 is applicable. You are making payment of rent. Let us consider you had paid 5 lakhs rupees as rent to B, Mr. B. So rent of 5 lakhs is paid to Mr. B without TDS. You are supposed to take TDS of 10%, failed to deduct that, you had done this. So ultimately, this rent is paid for the entire financial year 1920. Now, ultimately, I will call the payer. Let us consider Mr. A is the payer. So now ultimately what will happen? Mr. A is said to be called as SSC in default. He will be called as SSC in default. So what the act says here, for the financial year 1920, I cannot give you entire 5 lakhs. It says disallow. How much I will disallow? 30% of 5 lakhs. So 30% of 5 lakhs is going to give me 1,50,000. So 1,50,000 has been disallowed. What is the balance? Of the 5 lakhs, 1,50,000 has been disallowed. That means 3,50,000 you had already taken as reduction. Now what the act says, so for the financial year 1920, I am going to disallow 1,50,000. But the act gives you a benefit. What benefit it gives? It says that if Mr. B, okay, recipient, Mr. B is what? Recipient, paid tax on the entire 5 lakhs. Mr. B filed income tax return. So this person has paid the tax. This person has filed the income tax return. It also says that Mr. A obtains certificate from chartered accountant. If all these three conditions are satisfied, then what the act says, in the year of this, in the year of rectification, he can take the tax reduction. Now let me consider Mr. A had paid the tax, Mr. B has paid the tax, Mr. B has filed the income tax return. Let us consider on 31st July 2020. So the defect is rectified. So here defect rectified in financial year 2021. So ultimately deduction is allowed where in 2021 but not in 2019-20. So here deduction is allowed when deduction can be allowed in financial year 2021 but not in 1920. Same as earlier case. But the only two difference are what? 40A subsection 1 is applicable for a non-resident and 100% is disallowed. 40A subsection 1 is applicable only for a resident and only 30% is disallowed. And the 30% can be taken as soon as the defect is rectified. That's what is something called as 40A subsection 1A. Now let us move to the other section, 40A subsection 1. It's very simple. So let me put two sections together now. We are going to discuss section 40A subsection 2 and we are also discussing something called as 40A subsection 2A. In fact, 40A subsection 2A at present is not applicable. It is not going to be applicable. Why? Because this section says payment of wealth tax. So payment of wealth tax, if debited to profit and loss account, is disallowed. Now the wealth tax itself is abolished, so ultimately the payment of wealth tax will not arise. So, but this section has not been deleted. So actually this section is supposed to be deleted from the Income Tax Act. As the section is not deleted, so it's not going to be practically applicable. Now what is 40A subsection 2? It says that if income tax is debited to P&L account, disallowed. That means whenever you should not debit the income tax to profit and loss account. If any income tax paid is debited or any provision for income tax is debited, what 40A subsection 2 says, simply add back to your net profit. That's what is something called as disallowance under section 40A subsection 2 as well as 40A subsection 2A. Okay, now let us move to the other part of the section 2B. 40A subsection 2B. Let us see what is this. Section 40A subsection 2B. 40A subsection 2B. Now let us see what is this. This is generally speaking about something called as whenever any fees, okay, you are making payment of fees, you are making payment of royalty, or you are making payment of any sort of service charges. Who is paying? Okay, in this case, let us see. Okay, let me put it differently. Always, whatever transaction is there, two persons will be there. Let us consider the first person as payer. Okay, the first person as payer. And okay, payer. Who is the payer here? The payer is someone called as state government. So, whenever state government is paying, the payer is state government. Okay, not exactly the state government. The payer is what? State government undertaking. The payer is what? State government undertaking is the payer. What this undertaking is paying? Let us see. This undertaking is paying something called as any fees. This undertaking, state government undertaking, is paying something called as, you may call that as royalty. You may call that as service charges, whatever it is. So this payer is paying these expenses. Payer paying these expenses. To whom he is paying these expenses? These expenses are paid to recipient. Who is the recipient? The recipient for this purpose is someone called as state government. State government undertaking making payment of expenses to the state government, then this point is applicable. Then this point says that has to be disallowed. Any sort of expenses paid by state government undertaking to the state government, what it is paying? It is paying in the form of fees, royalty, or service charges. So ultimately, who is the recipient? State government. So what 40A subsection 2B says, that cannot be taken as deduction, that has to be disallowed. Now, what is the meaning of state government? Any corporation or undertaking which is controlled by state government is said to be called as state government undertaking. Any corporate which is 51% of the capital is held by the state government is also said to be called as the state government undertaking. So if that is paying any sort of fees, service, or royalty, that has to be disallowed. That's what is something called as 40A subsection 2B. Then let me move to the other part. 40A subsection 3. Okay, 40A subsection 3. Let us see what is that. (40A) subsection 3 says that whenever you are making payment of salaries, any sort of salaries were paid outside India. You are making some sort of payment of salaries outside India, or you are making payment of salaries to a non-resident. Okay, then what you have to do? Then compulsory TDS to be deducted. You need to deduct TDS. If you fail to deduct TDS, disallow. So ultimately, what is happening here? Payer making payment of what? Salary. To whom? Non-resident. How the salary is paid? Without. The salary is paid without deduction of TDS. Then what 40A subsection 3 says? Disallows. That's what is simple case. Same as 40A subsection 1A. 40A subsection 1A says whenever you are making payment to a non-resident outside India or within India without deduction of TDS, disallow. Whenever you are making payment of salaries to a non-resident outside India or within India without deduction of TDS, disallow. That's what is 40A subsection 3 speaks about. Then there is something called as 40A subsection 4. Okay. 40A subsection 4. What is this? Contribution towards employees welfare fund. Contribution. Any sort of contribution by whom? By employer towards what? Contribution by the employer towards either that could be your provident fund. Okay, either that could be provident fund or that could be employees welfare fund. Employees welfare fund. So how the contribution is made? The contribution by the employer towards this PF or towards employee welfare fund is made without TDS. If the contribution by the employer is made without deduction of TDS, then 40A subsection 5 says disallow. So you can't take that as deduction. That has to be completely disallowed. Okay, that's what is something called as a 40A subsection 2. Then 40A subsection 5. Not only this, any sort of contributions towards unapproved funds. Employer's contribution towards unapproved funds is also disallowed. Means what? Approved gratuity fund, section 36, allow the tax reduction. Contribution towards unapproved gratuity fund is disallowed. So any sort of contributions towards unapproved gratuity fund is always subject to disallowances. Now let us move on to the next section. 40A subsection 5. This speaks about something called as tax paid by employer. Tax is paid by the employer on something called as non-monetary perquisite. If the employer is paying you any sort of perquisite which are in non-monetary, rent-free accommodation, motor car, all these things are something called as non-monetary. So if any tax is paid by the employer on that non-monetary perquisite given to the employee, if debited to the profit and loss account, disallowed. That's what is 40A subsection 5. Okay, that's what is something called as 40A subsection 5. Now what we'll do, let us do one small problem. Okay, let us do one small problem. With that we can understand how do I compute profits and gains from reserve portion. Of course there are further few more deductions, disallowance are there. We'll discuss that one by one, but I want to make you understand whatever we have discussed so far. Let us try to apply that in a problem and let us try to calculate something called as profits and gains from business or profession. Clear? So once we do with that, then we'll move on to the next disallowance, which is nothing but something called as 40A subsection 2. But before that, let us try to understand this problem, then we'll make a move. Now, example number 1. Okay, profit and loss account of Mr. A is given. Debits, let us take the debit here. To repairs on building. Okay, 1,30,000 is your debit. To advertisement, you are incurring some advertisement expenses. Let us consider the amount of advertisement expense going to be 50 1000. Then contribution to scientific research, to scientific approved, to approved, contribution to approved association carrying on scientific research. Let us take that to be 1 lakh. Then to interest, 1 lakh 10,000. To interest 1 lakh 10,000. Right? Now, to, there is something called as traveling charges. Traveling charges or traveling expenses 1 lakh 30,000. 1 lakh 30,000 to travel. Then we have also been provided something called as 2 miscellaneous expenses. Let us consider this as 550. Let us go to the credit side. Here we have been provided with your gross profit brought down 6 lakhs. 1,000 is your gross profit. By income tax refund, you are getting some income tax refund. 4,500 is nothing but your income tax refund. By interest on company's deposit, you have done some deposit in some company, you are getting interest from that. It is not on. By interest from company's deposit, interest from company's deposit, what, amounting to 6,400. Then by dividend, let us consider the dividend amount is going to be 3,600. So the total P&L account, the total P&L account is coming to be 6 lakhs 15,500. 6 lakhs 15,500. So now the balancing figure is nothing but your net profit. Let us consider your net profit to be 93,500 is your net profit. Let me add few more points, then we'll start working with the problem. So it also mentioned repairs includes what? 95,000 rupees. Includes 95,000 rupees cost of rising compound wall. Cost of rising compound wall. You had raised the compound wall. So the 95,000 rupees is incurred for rising the compound wall. That's what is the first point which is mentioned. Then it also mentioned one more thing. Interest includes rupees 12,000 payable. Interest includes 12,000 payable to a resident on which tax has not been deducted, on which no TDS has been done. Okay, and it also says rupees 24,000 penalty, and it also includes what? Interest amount also includes a 24,000 rupees, which is nothing but the penalty for what? For contravention. Penalty for contravention of CGST Act. Okay, penalty for contravention of CGST Act is also a reduction. Before getting into that, I want to add one more point here in 37 subsection 1. Let me go back. 37 subsection 1, we have discussed disallowances. There what we have seen, any sort of contribution, any sort of expenses incurred for corporate social responsibility CSR activity are said to be disallowed. Along with that, I want to add one more point there. Let me add it. Okay. Yeah, here I want to add one more point, which is nothing but any sort of penalty paid or any sort of violation of any act is not allowed. So 37 subsection 1 also says penalty. Okay, it could be any sort of penalty or any sort of interest for any violation, or it could be any sort of contravention. is also supposed to be disallowed. So I'm going to disallow that. Okay, that what is one point which I want to add it there. Now that's what is the given thing. What is required? Compute income, compute profits and gains from business or profession. You are supposed to compute profits and gains from business or profession. Section 29. We need to go to section 29. Now, let us write here computation of profits and gains from business or profession of Mr. A for assessment year 2021. That's what is the thing which you are supposed to consider. Now, let me put one more thing here. Particulars, amount in rupees, amount in rupees. So these are the three columns which I should have. Section 29. What section 29 says? As per section 29, first I need to consider my net profit. What is the net profit given the problem? The net profit given in the problem is nothing but 93,950. The net profit given is what? 93,950. To this, section 29 says add disallowances. So the first part of 29 says what? Add disallowances. Whatever disallowances are there, that I need to add. So first, immediately, how do you start your problem? Just simply take your net profit, put the term disallowances, read the profit and loss account, cover the debit side of your profit and loss account. Once you cover the debit side of the profit and loss account, then you should focus the adjustments given. Now let us go to the profit and loss account. What is given? Repairs on building 1,30,000. Is that allowed as reduction? Yes, it is allowed as reduction. Under which section? Section 30. Advertisement. Obviously, if the advertisement is paid, is incurred for the political party, it is disallowed. Other than the political party, whatever advertisement you are taking, that is allowed as reduction at which section? 37. Because advertisement is not covered from 30 to 36. Advertisement is not a capital expenditure. Advertisement is not incurred for the personal purpose. Advertisement is incurred for a legal business. So ultimately, as all the conditions satisfied, and advertisement is incurred in the previous year for your own business, you can take that as reduction in section 37. Then what? Amount paid to Scientific Research Association 1 lakh. So what the act says here? The act says here you can take that as reduction to the extent as it is approved 150%. So what I will do? As you are making payment to an approved, two things are there. Disallow 1 lakh, take 1,50,000 as reduction. Or as already you have taken 1 lakh, when you take reduction, you take extra 50,000 as reduction. So here what I am going to do? I am going to disallow entire contribution to scientific research. So here what I am going to add? I am going to disallow contribution to scientific research. Why? Because I am going to take this separately. What is the amount of contribution made? The amount of contribution made is 1 lakh. I will consider this separately when we are going to the reductions part. Then what? Interest. I will allow this as reduction. Traveling expenses allowable as reduction under section 37. Miscellaneous expenses, if no adjustment is mentioned, I can take this as reduction. So we have covered the debit side of your profit and loss account. Now we need to go to the adjustments. What is the first adjustment? Repairs on plant repairs includes 95,000 cost of raising a compound wall. See, when we are discussing section 30, there we have discussed two sort of repairs: current repair, capital repair. So any sort of repair which is not a current repair is said to be called as a capital repair. So raising the height of the compound wall is not going to be called as for current repair. So ultimately it is disallowed. So what I am going to do? Repair, let me be more specific. Capital repair of rising wall. Disallow. I will simply disallow. What is the cost of raising your compound wall? 95,000 rupees. I will simply disallow that. Then the next one. What is the next adjustment? Interest includes 12,000 paid to a resident on which tax was not deducted. Now, which section that is coming into? As per section 40A, subsection 1A, whenever any payment is made to a resident, interest paid to resident, interest paid to resident. So what 40A subsection 1A says? Disallow. What is the amount of interest paid? You are making payment of 12,000 as interest. What 40A subsection 1A says? Not 100%. You are supposed to disallow only 30%. So 12,000 into 30%, that is going to give you 3,600 is the amount which I am going to disallow. Then what? He is telling you penalty paid. Penalty per contravention of CGST. What is the amount of penalty paid? 24,000. So just now we have added this point in your section 37 subsection 1. Any sort of penalty or any sort of interest in contravention of any act shall not be allowed as deduction. So what we are going to do? We are going to disallow this. So now whatever total of your additions you are having, this total of your disallowances, you take that in your outer column. Now what is the total of disallowances I have? 1 lakh plus 95,000 plus 3,600 plus 24,000 is going to give me 2,22,600. So this total I want to take that to my outer column. So you put it here, 2,22,600. 2,22,600. So let us take this as a part of your outer column. 2,26,600 is the total disallowances which I want to take to my outer column. Done. Then what I have to do? Deductions. Now I need to I need to reduce something. What else? I need to add one more thing. What else I need to add? Okay, let us see. Less. So I need to go for my deductions. So here what is your deductions basically? Less any sort of deductions covered under 30 to 37. Already almost everything is reduced. Now only one thing is left off. What is left off? The left off is nothing but contribution to scientific research. Contribution to approved association. Contribution to approved association carrying scientific research. So any sort of approved association which is engaged in carrying some scientific research, to that you are doing some sort of contribution. Ultimately, what will happen? Section 35 is going to be applicable. So I need to apply section 35. So what section 35 says? Section 35 clearly says that 1.5% of the expenses is allowed as deduction. So here, to be more specific, which section you are applying? Section 35, subsection 1, clause 2. What this section says? 1.5 times of the expenditure incurred. What is the expenditure incurred? 1 lakh is the amount of expenses you are incurring. I need to add that. Okay, this I need to consider. This I need to reduce. So I can take 1,50,000 rupees as my deduction. Then along with this, one more thing also I have to reduce. What 29 says? Less. Income not covered, incomes not covered under section 28, I need to reduce. Now in the profit and loss account on the credit side, now see, already we have put our focus on the debit side. Now you should focus your concentration on the credit side. Along with this, what else I have to reduce? Deductions allowable under section 30 to 37. That means which are not considered in your profit and loss account. Now, what are the incomes covered? Interest. Income tax refund. You got an income tax refund. What is the amount of refund? 4,500. Income tax refund is not at all an income. I have to disallow that. Disallow income. So as I want to disallow my income, so what is this called as your disallowances, or not considering that as an income. So you are not going to consider this as your income, business income. That's the reason what you are doing. You are removing that from your net profit. Then what else? You are receiving interest from company deposit. You had made a deposit in a company and that you are getting some sort of interest. then ultimately interest from company deposit you are getting. So here what 6,400 is the 6,400 is the value, which is nothing but the interest which you are getting from the company's deposit. Then you are having some dividend, you are receiving some sort of dividend. We know very well dividend is exempt from tax under section 10 subsection 34. So the entire amount of dividend is not at all your income. So what is the amount of dividend there? 3,600 is nothing but your amount of your income. So this total I need to consider in my outer column. So what is the total? Let us see. 4,500 plus 6,400 plus 3,600, that is going to give you 14,500. So I need to consider this here as what? 14,500. Now for our convenience, let us put this in bracket. Let us also put this in bracket. Now along with this, what I have to add? Of course, our present problem does not have that. What I have to add? Income under section 28 not credited to profit and loss account. That is an income. You should consider that in your profit and loss account, but you have not considered. Those things are supposed to be added. In this present problem, we don't have anything. So my net profit is what? In the problem given 93,950. From that, what you are doing? Deductions you are taking. What is the amount of deduction you are taking? 3 lakhs, sorry, from 93,500 you are disallowing. Yeah, 1 second. One change I need to do it here. So here, yeah, this total. Now if I go back to the problem, 93,950. To that, what is the disallowances total? My disallowances total in this case nothing but 2,26,600. So add 2,26,600 I need to add. Then we are supposed to consider the deductions. What are the deductions there you are considering? 1,50,000. So minus 1,50,000 I have to consider. Then you are removing some incomes from your profit and loss account. The incomes is coming to what? 14,500. So less 14,500. So if I do, I'll be getting something called as my profits and gains from this profit. So let us do it again. 93,950 plus 22,600. Sorry, 93,950 plus 2,22,600. Okay, minus 14,500 minus 1,50,000. That is going to give you 1,52,050. So my answer is nothing but 1,52,050 is something called as taxable business income. So that is the base of determination of your profits and gains from this operation. So now, as we got a clarity of how do I compute, now let us move on to your other disallowances, section 40A subsection 2.